Hi everyone, this is Kat of Catalyst Holistic Life Coaching, bringing your life in alignment with you. I'm here today to do your weekly forecast for this week of July 19th through the 25th. We missed last week, which we didn't have too much going on, but whatever planetary shifts we had last week I'll incorporate into this week as well, so you're not missing out on the information. But hello and welcome. If this is your first time coming to my channel, please feel free to subscribe, like, comment, or share from your experience. As this weekly forecast, we do a tarot / oracle reading to kind of look at the overarching energies of the week. And then we do a look at the astrology shifts that are happening, just significant planetary movements, not necessarily any aspects. And so it is a kind of general reading just to give a little insight into how you might be able to approach your week best. So before we continue on though, I'd like to give a little shout out to my new affiliation with Banyan Botanicals, which is a great site for Ayurvedic medicine products, as well as getting to know your dosha. If you don't know what Ayurveda is kind of the sister medicine to yoga. It works in body constitutions, and I do a lot of this work with my clients to really assist in dietary as well as kind of lifestyle changes. It really works into everything. So if you're curious about working with your doshas or how yoga therapy can work in that way for you, please click the link below to go take your dosha quiz and perhaps get a little discount off products. So with that said, let's get into our reading. So this week's tarot and oracle, we have two decks we're working with today. So the tarot deck we're working with is the Wild Unknown Tarot. It's one of my first tarot decks, so I'm kind of excited to be working with it this week. And I just really like the imagery, how it can be very simple black and white, and then others just have this amazing sense of color and vibrancy to really display the message. So our first card coming forward is the Ten of Swords, and there's a buffalo with a bunch of swords piercing through him. So the kind of energy this week, there is a sort of ending. While it may seem like a harsh ending, or maybe it was just in a sense of you're feeling perhaps a little victimized this week, or it could be some sort of unfair ending. But this all, with it being swords, has to do with the mental energy as well. So this can kind of be an end to some of those really tough cycles, how we've been keeping ourselves small and kind of looking weak, pinned to the ground, instead of really giving ourselves the strength to progress forward. So some of those old wounds, whether we're aware of them or not, they could be something we've been working with for a really long time, are just kind of coming down to an end. Because the next card we have is the Eight of Cups, which is all about kind of leaving behind what's broken. There's not really anything that this situation is offering you anymore. There's no fulfillment. There's no really reasoning for anything to be left, and we're just kind of looking towards this maybe sort of daunting mountain ahead of us. But we do see that, you know, there is more to climb to. There's another peak that we're able to ascend past this level. And so there could be dealing with some emotional disappointments this week, or just something you were really kind of holding out for. Or this could also be like you actively choosing I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to be this person anymore. I don't want to be this victim in my life anymore. I want to climb that mountaintop. I want to do things more empowering for myself. And following that, we have the Hanged Man in the reverse, which this is a bat. And bat spirits really have to do with like rebirth, and with it representing the Hanged Man, the Hanged Man is usually just kind of sitting there observing, taking it all in, but it's a sort of surrender. So when we see this message in the reverse, for some of you in this message, this is like an unwillingness to let go, an unwillingness to sacrifice something. And it's whether it's maybe coming from, outside of yourself. For some of you, this could just be this immovable person that's just not willing to kind of see your side of things, is not willing to see your needs or your wants. And they could kind of be the reasoning for why you're feeling this victimization, and why these thoughts are continuing to just roll through your head of, feeling unworthy or unable to make that attainment. And you're just kind of seeing like it doesn't really have to do with you anymore. It doesn't have to do with your worth or what you can decide for yourself. Like, you still have the power to make these decisions. And if this is more related just within yourself, Spirit is just reminding you, like, what are you really clinging to? Because in order to actually have something new, in order for us to kind of climb this mountain, we do have to kind of sacrifice ourselves a little bit. And that doesn't mean, let go of your boundaries or not have any sense of self-worth. But these things that just aren't really serving you anymore, these things that aren't a part of your personality or how you want to be or how you want your life to be, all of these things that have kind of created this shell, this kind of exterior of like victimhood that you really don't want to hold on to anymore, is really what has to be let go, which can be very hard and painful. Like, this can almost feel, like a struggle to let this go, because it's kind of a shame to look at all of these broken glasses and so much effort, so much pain left behind. But you also don't know what's lying at the top of that mountain for you. You don't know what lies on the other side. Because the last tarot card we have is the Ten of Pentacles in the reverse. So, this really signaling kind of a loss or just a disappointment, whether this be financially or just something that was like your sense of security, whether that could be with like your surrounding family, it could be a job, just something maybe you just built up in your head that, there's two tens here, there's two endings. And this is just kind of that buildup of like, well, I'm kind of stuck here. Like, how could I do any better? Like, why would I try to strive for more than what I, already have? Even though it's really not giving me what I want. And another side of the coin with that is, when we're trying to reach for all of this, what we think is really causing us to have this sense of security. Maybe it's, outside appearances, because this is more of the material world. What we think is really serving us, what we think our life purpose was, whether it's like, having a lot of money or having all of these material things, having this certain job, anything that's just like you were kind of doing it just because it was an expectation or was really put on you by someone else. You're starting to kind of see how that is not really creating this actual sense of stability, because it's not. You're looking at it like, you know, the glasses are empty. Like, what am I really putting my energy into? Like, there's something greater for you that's calling out to you here. The word I'm hearing is like personal crisis, even like almost like a spiritual crisis, like almost like that midlife crisis that you hear, except it's like you really question it. Your soul is just trying to like really get your attention and be like, hey, like you're really clinging on to something here. This is not what you need for you to advance to the next level. And this doesn't matter as much as you think that it does. Okay, so however that might resonate for you in whichever way. So let's look at the clarification with the oracle cards. So the oracle cards that wanted to come forward were these liquid crystal oracle cards. They were actually my first oracle cards I ever got. And they're just, you know, messages from the crystals, more about their kind of crystal form that they work through and the kind of energies that are supporting us in that way. So yeah, the first one coming forward is green calcite, or letting go. So sorry about the shine with the light a little bit, if you can read it. So yeah, there's especially with this green, like it's this lighter green, it's really working with the heart chakra and like releasing this wounding. But yeah, there is just something that is ready to be let go. There's something that needs to be released and sacrificed here. You know, as painful as it might be. And I remember with this card too, one of its animal totems is dragonfly, which all has to do with illusion, and what we kind of create versus, you know, truth, how we think. You know, our minds and society like to kind of create how we think everything should be, but really we're the ones who know that deep in our heart. So maybe working on some heart clearing, and working on really surrendering. Like if you're feeling that challenged, like bat spirit energy, learn to surrender more into the situation. There may not necessarily have to be a sense of action this week. You know, even though you're kind of looking towards the mountain and you feel that urge and ready to let go, it's really about feeling into and surrender and not making it happen. And if you're not even sure what direction to go, like just trusting that it will reveal itself and manifest as needed. So the next crystal we have is hematite, of spiritual grounding. So even though hematite is like this kind of, it's like this shiny metallic stone that you've probably seen that magnetizes to each other. When you scratch it, it's kind of blood red in color, but it does kind of hold all of the colors of the rays within, hence the spiritual grounding. And because of that magnetism, it really helps the body to kind of center and repurpose. And I also see this with, you know, this 10 of Pentacles in reverse, this kind of rainbow color. You know, normally in the upright, this is like a really strong structure, kind of like the rings of a tree. Like it starts as a seed and it grows and grows and grows and gets stronger and stronger over the years that it's built. And so we need that grounding. We need that foundation. We need to come back and check in with what is really important to us. What is really serving our higher calling, and you know, how easily can something be swept out from underneath us if we don't really have those roots deep into ourselves. So coming and finding that aspect again, maybe working with the chakras, working with root chakra especially, Muladhara, like your center, that kind of red color, and come back to your roots, come back to who you are. Okay, so the last stone we have is blue lace agate, of calm expression. So yeah, there could be a lot of, emotional turmoil here with all these, cups that are broken. There could be, lashing out or victimization. You could have some harsh words, from feeling self-protective and not willing to kind of see. You may not necessarily feel ready for this shift just yet. And so you might surprise yourself with some of these things that are coming to the surface. But this blue lace agate, especially working with like throat chakra, blue colors, can really help you to settle and kind of communicate with yourself in a way that's more gentle and loving. You can start to see what these maybe hard emotions are really crying out for, because every emotion, every experience that we go through is some aspect of ourselves trying to get recognition, trying to be seen. So you could be in need of just really taking it slow this week, really learning how to speak more gently, and yeah, again, I see this not necessarily like a forceful energy, but just coming into that rooting, into that center. And the more you kind of work into that rooting and working your way up and processing all of these things, you will probably have a more calm way of approaching these, and it may not feel so claustrophobic anymore if this feels like a really big shift for you. Okay, so let's get into the astrology that we have going on this week. We do have a bit going on, but I will say one thing. For last week, we had Mercury moving into the sign of Cancer. So Mercury is our sign of communication, planet of communication and technology and movement and wisdom as well. Our social, it's the fastest moving planet in our system, and moving into the astrological sign of Cancer. So we could be, another reason we could be kind of feeling that instability is because our mental energy is sort of changing with the moon, because Cancer is this sign that's ruled by the moon. So it could be just a lot of, one day it feels like this, another day it feels like this. When you think you start to get clear, something else comes up. You're like, didn't I process this already? And it's clearly like, nope, you're still holding on to this. How do you want to move forward? Because even though with that, it is moving into the Chariot energy, like Cancer really is this forward moving, persevering, powerful energy. It may not be fast moving energy, but it is like overcoming obstacles. It's tenacious. It's still, it has a plan. It's still moving forward, but it has a few steps it has to take. It is kind of tentative. So with that calm expression in mind, Cancer can be super, super sensitive. So if you're feeling like mentally like all over the place or just lashing out, before you say or, really do anything, really sit with yourself to get calm and clear in what's happening for yourself, instead of, kind of just going off a whim and just... how do I even want to describe this? Because Cancer energy is so interesting to me, just how changeable they really are. Even though they're a cardinal sign, they're so much more forward thinking and progressive. They are this kind of like leadership energy, but they're very cautious. They're very, if I'm not comfortable, I'm not going to do it. It's almost frustrating. So that's why we really want to focus on bringing that, calming, balancing energy to our communications, to our emotions, all of those different aspects. So then coming into this week, so on Thursday, we have Venus, our planet of love and beauty and money and enjoyment, pleasure, moving into the sign of Virgo. So Virgo is an earth sign, and Virgo also represents in the tarot the hermit energy. So Virgo does have this kind of loner sense. So you could be perhaps sensing that a little bit. There could be, you know, you're really starting to feel a little bit isolated and out of place in your own life. And another thing with like Virgos is, even though they're really this earth sign of service and of you know, really dedicated work, and they're these really smart signs who can analyze and take in so much information because they are ruled by the planet Mercury, they can have a tendency to be like overly critical, which might you know, make them feel like isolation, which isolation is good. Learning to kind of follow your own path, and you know, you see the star within there, kind of maintaining their own energy, but you don't want to do it so much that you are just feeling like this victim to your own life, like you have no control, you have no say, you are just kind of resigned to it is what it is, rather than you know, taking accountability for yourself. Which can be like a shadow side of Virgo too, because Virgos really are very critical of themselves along with other people. So it's good to be, you know, a little self-critical. It's good to be also critical in your relationships. And maybe you're being asked to have more discernment about what it is that you really value, what it is that you want for your life. You know, maybe you were shooting for the stars and like really asking for so much when it wasn't really like what you needed. What you needed was to be fulfilling your spirit. What you needed was to be filling your cup and filling your heart with your own inner fire. This is your inner lantern. This is your inner compass. You are following your own path. You don't need to follow anyone else's. Okay, so Venus and Virgo could really be bringing that up for you this week. All right, so then we'll be moving into Leo season as well. So when we switch astrological seasons, it's when the sun, the planet of, you know, our ego, personality, our kind of inner sort of root of our being, is moving into Leo, also on Thursday. So we have the sun kind of probably getting close to meeting up with Venus in Leo, but it will shift kind of at the other spectrum of Leo. And Leo is represented by the card Strength. Okay, so you know, this really has to do with, you know, the shadow aspect and the higher self, you know, coming to meet in this one place. You know, you see the sun and the moon, and it's kind of working to temper those like really strong, proud emotions, because Leo can be a really proud sign. You know, they can get a little hot-headed in the sense of like really thinking of themselves above everything. But I don't see that necessarily in this reading, other than maybe in the sense of like, you know, those things you're not willing to sacrifice because you just might be holding on to them in an egoic way. But I more so see like this is calling for you to have that strength, to have that gentleness with yourself, and be willing to say, I'm deserving of this. I'm not a victim. I am this amazing, vibrant being who deserves all of these things that I'm bringing in. So as we work through this season, that could be really coming up again in that sort of grounding, even though this is a fire energy, it's more of like a grounding in like, because Leos really tend to know themselves. They know what they want, they know what they desire, and they're gonna go get it. And but they also have this sensitivity of like doing the good thing, being the best for everyone around them as well. So, you know, checking in with yourself, what are you doing from ego, and what are you doing from wounding? What are you doing from a sense of being small? Are you playing it small? Or are you ready to go big and go on that big journey and ascend that mountain? Okay. So, oh, and then, yes, can't forget this. So on Saturday, we have a full moon. We have our full moon in Aquarius. So showing the world the real you. That in and of itself just says everything. So we're kind of getting rid of these illusions. We're having this, the word that's really coming to mind is self-sacrifice. Of releasing and letting these things die away that were just keeping us so small and wounded, because the representation of Aquarius is the star, which is this sign of hopefulness and faith, and but it's also, you know, a sense of uniqueness, of the pioneer, that even when it seems like everything's kind of tumultuous, even when it seems like everything is spiraling out of control, there is this reserve to always go back to. There is this guiding light within you that, you know, it's like your North Star, if you've always heard of that, coming back to your north. This is that guiding light. This is that ability to go within and take that chance to be seen, especially with that Leo energy. You know, Leo is kind of the opposite of Aquarius, in the sense of Leo is much more like personal, and Aquarius is more like humanity and their higher purpose in that way. How are they serving? So not only are you really searching for these deeper aspects of yourself to be more happy in your own life, but you're doing the world a disservice by not following, you know, who you really are in that inner light. And the full moon is happening at 1 degree Aquarius. So that decade of Aquarius is represented by the 5 of Swords. So yeah, it's kind of like laying that fight to rest finally. You know, the 5 of Swords in tradition is depicted as there was this disagreement, opposing viewpoints, opposing mental energy, and it was just this kind of resolve of just like, you know, it's fine. Like, we have these differences, I'm just gonna let it lie. And you know, there's the skull here as well, and all the swords are kind of pointing at you know, the woman in the grass as well. And but she seems like at peace with it. Like, you know, it's been laid to rest, is what I'm hearing, is that, you know, even though all these swords are pointing at her, you know, she's accepting, like, yeah, these opposing viewpoints were different from what I really want, but you know, it's time to like let that go. It's time to just let it go. So for some of you, yeah, there were really people that were trying to impose all of this stuff on you, whether it's from most of your life or just your career. Like, it could be old, it could be new, but you're just ready to kind of say, you're resigning yourself to whatever it is. You're kind of offering the olive branch of like, okay, you can think that, you can feel that, but that's not for me. That's not the direction I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna keep fighting like this anymore. I'm really done. I've hit my limit. I'm over it, and this isn't serving me anymore. Okay. So yeah, big releases, a lot of challenges, and with that full moon in Aquarius coming forward as well, emotions could really be heightened. So that could be that kind of pivotal moment of, I can't do this anymore. And depending on what area this shows up in your chart, that will kind of vary for everyone. But that is a good time to release and let go. So maybe just doing a releasing energy. You can do a sort of sacrificial ritual in the sense of, burning a candle or burning some things that are no longer suitable in your life anymore. They're just, items that don't need to be worried about. But yeah, I think the theme of the overall week is really just like, sacrifice. And I think we put a really negative connotation around the word sacrifice because we have a huge problem with letting things go. But when we turn letting go into a sort of ritual, and not as a way of just like, I'm losing something, or I'm, this is not benefiting me in any way. If we really look at it in reverence and take time to really be with it and give ourselves the power to release it, instead of struggling and fighting with it, we sit with it, we take it in, we feel the feelings, we understand how it played a role in our life, and then we actively choose to sever this tie, however it might be. We're still tied to it in the sense like we will forever be changed, we will forever be influenced by it, but we don't need to keep playing it over and over in our heads anymore. We don't need to cling to that one thing anymore. Okay? So, a lot happening this week. Please take everything so gently this week, and especially when there's a lot of releasing, like shift that perspective a little bit and see how it's just maybe you clinging and holding, and it doesn't need to be this this painful experience for yourself. But I hope this reading finds you well and serves you in any way. If you really liked it or have an experience to share, please comment. I love to read them and see how this resonates with everyone kind of in the collective. So again, also, if you felt really called to your own personal reading or want to see how this is showing up in your astrological chart, I do private readings, so feel free to reach out to me in any way. I also have bi-weekly moon letters that share a little more insight and also share my services that I am offering at this time. So again, thank you so much for tuning in, and enjoy your week, enjoy your full moon, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.